State Media, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our sit down with Mazi Pilip, who is running for re-election to the Nassau County Legislature in District 10 on the Republican and conservative lines. She's opposed by Weihai Yan, who is running on the Democratic line for a district that covers Great Neck, all of Manhasset except Flower Hill, Manhasset Hills, North Hills, and Roslyn Estates. If I got that at all wrong, Mazi, please correct me. I know it's new district.
No, I think you got this wrong. You got this correct.
I got it right. Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. This is part of a series of interviews with candidates running for office this November. I'd like to thank in advance the sponsor of this event and others, Northwell Health. And with that, let's jump right in. And let me just ask you, you're running for re-election. What do you see as the most important issues that need to be addressed by the county and what you're doing about them?
Hello, this is Steve. Right now, we're focusing on safety. I'm working in the last almost 2 years with all the villages, with the mayors, Republican and Democrats. I'm collaborating with everyone to bring more safety to our county and specifically to our district. Again, since I'm working with everyone, it depends. Each village, each civic association has different needs, and based on that, I communicate with the county, and I'm trying to bring solutions for the issues that's coming up.
Okay. Any other issues that you see as the most important and what you're doing about it?
Lately, since MTA changed the scheduling, I know it has been an issue for so many residents to go to work and to come back. I'm trying to communicate with our state representative and being the voice, the MTA to really check it again out regarding the scheduling. A lot of moms who used to work in the city, it has been very difficult. The gap between the train schedule is really challenging them. I would appreciate it again if MTA will review this and maybe come up with a better scheduling.
Okay. And any other major issues that you state?
I'm trying to work again with the villages regarding flooding. Some areas in my district, when there is heavy rain, I know there is some flooding issue. So I requested for 2024, for example, to have a comprehensive study on our street and see how the county can focus in the next few years, come up with a better plan, to understand what's causing the flooding and, to take this issue a little serious because it is becoming in some part of my district an issue.
Okay. When you're talking about safety, what specifically are you referring to? What type of safety? Is there any main safety issues you're addressing?
Safety?
Yes, safety issues.
Safety issues. Again, overall in my district, the safety is in much better. The crime is in a much better situation. The 6 prisons really doing a great job. Our men and women in blue doing an amazing job. We continue to fund our police and at the same time, to work with them, to engage with them as a community. We have more police present in my district, and we just have to make sure it's going to continue like this.
Now, let me ask you this. The crime statistics are hard to come by, at least for members of the press. Are you briefed on, I think the last time they were adopted were several months ago, where we saw the year-to-year comparisons. How often do you see the crime statistics for the county and for the 6th precinct?
I'm working on a daily basis with the 6th precinct, and I know in my district, major crime is down 25%, stolen cars down for
It's down 25%.
41%.
Major crime.
Last couple of months, I can tell you, at least the last 4 months. So, I'm working with them on daily basis.
This is a question I've asked others, but why isn't there a monthly report for legislators and the public as they do in New York City? In New York City, it's the month of October. On November 3rd or so, you'll get the crime statistics for New York in all the major categories and whether it was up or down. And there usually be some comment on whether something is working or what they're doing to respond to something where there's been an uptick. What's your feeling about police providing timely reports on on what crimes took place in Nassau County and the precincts the prior month?
Again, I have access to it. Again, I'm working with our policing on a daily basis. And when we have the public hearing with the police department, I think that's information also available for the public.
Well, we try to get it. We end up having to foil it. And when we go online, the county's website only gets updated a couple of times a month. So it's usually months behind. Do you think, why not have the county provide monthly statistics so the public can look at it and let them judge?
It's a good idea. I'm willing to check it and see how we can make it more public.
Okay, let me ask you, since we're on crime, let's talk about, do you see a need for, and this has been, some people in the legislature have called for it, but for police reform and how Nassau County is policing?
Say it again?
Reforms on how Nassau County is policing.
If there is a need for that?
Yeah, do you see that there's a need for reform in terms of maybe how they're handling minority members of the community, handling people with mental health issues? Do you think there's a need for change there?
I don't have any issues right now. Again, our commissioner working with Democrats and Republicans in the county, he's very open about their approach. We're getting answer for everything we ask. At this point, the way I see it, as a community, we have to engage ourselves, work with our men and women in blue, and support them, giving them the fund they need. And this is what we're doing in the last year and a half since I got elected.
The minority members of the Democratic caucus have called for greater transparency. There was a study done by a national group that found that the Nassau County Police Department was among the least transparent in the United States in terms of releasing statistics on cases of abuse or excessive force. Do you think that, and in Nassau County, as opposed to New York City, for instance, it's done by an internal group within the police department. In New York City, it's handled by an independent civilian review board. Do you think that there is a need for greater transparency, if nothing else, so that the public has greater confidence in the police force?
I have confidence in our police force, but again, if I didn't see or heard that the minority leader has issues with this, he didn't bring it in front of me. At least, if there is any specific issue, or I am willing to check it and see how we can improve the situation. But I know they're treating everyone fairly. So the information you're giving me is not something I'm aware of that.
Okay, they did file with the, they did ask for Tish James to Kavan Abrahams, Kerry Salages, did ask for Tish James, the Attorney General, if she could have a unit, if she could have somebody from the state come in and oversee it. And Tish James says there wasn't enough manpower or in the budget, but she felt that there was a greater need for transparency. Is that not something you see yourself?
No, when we have the the hearing with our commissioner, he's very transparent. He's telling us, giving us all the data. I didn't see any issue again, and I do have faith on our police departments.
Okay. You mentioned flooding. Do you think that Nassau County is doing enough to address? Well, let me ask you first. Do you believe that climate change is having an impact on the environment?
I do believe, yes.
Okay. Do you think that the county is doing enough in terms of responding to what is happening? You mentioned flooding, and that's an issue that's happening on the South Shore, the North Shore. It's happening all over the island. Is Nassau County doing enough to prepare for, the increase of the severity of storms and the amount of rainfall?
Yeah. So the public work department, the commissioner, very again engaged. I brought him to my district a couple of times with some issues that some community members had. We review it sometimes when we need a study, specifically ordering studies, collaborating with the villages, mayors. A lot of, yes, sometimes the road belongs to Nassau County, but remember, for my district, there's a lot of villages that roads belong to the village. So a lot of meetings we had, and we were talking how we can collaborate on the way that we can take on the issue, both at the county and the villages as well. When I ordered the study, they look like they're supporting me, they're understanding the issues. It's a complicated issue, it's not easy. We're talking about, infrastructure that was built for many, many years ago. And when we have a heavy storm, we see how, the heavy storm is really impacting residents. I know that the public work department very much engage on this issue, and we learning it. We doing some studies, and we're trying to provide as much as help as possible, and especially specifically working with mayors and civic association to see. Sometimes is a simple thing. Sometimes really cleaning the sewer. We have to maintain it better. And when it comes to this, they're coming and they're doing their job. So.
Okay, and you've asked for a study on the streets within your district?
Yes.
Okay, and is that moving forward?
Yeah, it looks like it does.
Has that been approved by the legislature?
We are working on it. It should be approved. But I can tell you, villages, Sarawak, for example, suffered from Hurricane Ida. They needed flood mitigation fund that I brought, and they were able to work on this. And the thing with the Kensington, village of Kensington, again, they also had impacted by Hurricane Ida, and they needed some money for flood mitigation. And they used the money to be ready for next storm, for example. So just two examples, I gave it to you what the county did in the last year and a half. So how Hurricane Ida definitely impacted the two villages. But that's not, again, based on the need. I know the county is willing to work with the villages, to work with our district and see what we can prevent in the future.
Okay. Housing, this has been a very contentious issue in Nassau County throughout the area. The governor identified, said that the area New York is in need of 800,000 additional housing units. Rents in New York City are very, very high. Nassau County, the price of homes is very high. We have one of the percentage of single-family homes is among the highest of any county in the metropolitan area, that and Suffolk County. And the governor came up with an idea for accessory dwelling units that was rejected. And then she came up with an idea of requiring each area, specific areas, to come up with a 3% increase over 3 years. Do you think there's a shortage of housing? And is there anything that you think should be done to encourage the construction of more housing?
There is some issues with housing. Yes, is correct. However, the governor plan was to take out the local zoning, which is unacceptable for Nassau County. I think we should give the towns, the villages, the control when it comes to housing, because we want to make sure it's not going to impact trafficking, school, noise, air quality. And I do believe in some areas we should think of mixed use. I can tell you, I have my 7 kids, and I would like them to continue to live in Nassau County. And things are very expensive. So thinking about the next generation is something that we all obligated. And I think by really going through mixed used unit will be able to help our downtown and at the same time provide some housing for the young people who would like to stay in Nassau County, work in Nassau County, and enjoy.
Let me ask you, the population of Nassau County is basically the same as it was 50 years ago. So under the control of the local government, the zoning has remained among the most restrictive anywhere, and particularly mixed-use housing has not been built. So I think the Hochul plan said, you can figure it out, but if you don't, we'll leave it up to you unless changes are not made. So how would you get the local governments to do that? Because there's a track record, there's a 50-year track record that they haven't wanted to do that.
I know more and more, I know villages, mayors willing to entertain the idea of mixed use, and we're seeing it in my district. It will take time, it's not a one-day fix. And people also living, the numbers are not growing because some people also living from different reasons to different states. But right. Again, local zoning is very important. And before we building anything, we have to know how it's going to impact our schools, the traffic, the noise, the air quality. Those things you can't give up of it. And people who live in Nassau County, they on purpose, they decided to live in Nassau County. They left the cities and they chose to be here.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned helping downtown, and that was when I think you ran 2 years ago. That was one of the things that you cited as one of the things that you wanted to do. What have you done? What have you done with the idea of helping downtown districts? Your district includes, Great Neck, where you have many empty storefronts going down Middle Neck Road. We were, I think, at a event where Destination Great Neck had a panel to discuss alternatives. What have you been able to do anything in your time in the legislature in the past 2 years?
So, if you want vibrant downtown, you have to make sure first the road looks appropriate. And one of the things I was focusing in my district, road paving project. And in the last year and a half, we did so many of them in my district, and I'm very proud. Middle Neck Road was done, and other roads was done. Almost every road other than Bayview Avenue, which will be next year project, is done. So that's the first step. At the same time, working with our community, like Destination of Greatness, for example. We collaborate in different ways. We had a couple of events with them because you have to work with the community by encouraging downtowns, new businesses to come to us. Yes, we do have some empty stores. However, we also see there's more new businesses, more and more new businesses coming to us, more restaurants in the last year and a half. That's already opened, and they will, I know there is others also coming in. At the legislature, we make sure to give the 10,000 grant for small businesses. I know a lot of people in my district applied for that, and some of them already start to see the money. That money will help them, with expense, if it's electricity, whatever expense they have. I'm trying to promote small businesses.
One of the things in terms of housing, you hear from developers, architects, property owners that what they want is that they come in with the idea. One of the big ideas is mixed use, retail on the ground floor, apartments above. But the zoning doesn't permit that. So they're required then to get variances in most cases. And the complaint is that that's an extra step. It's a degree of uncertainty where they might invest a lot of money and not get something. So they're saying they're staying away from large part of North Hempstead until there is area. So they want certainty. They say rezone the area. They didn't say where, but they say there should be a plan to put it together. Middle Neck Road could be one of the places in your district where that happens. Would you be in favor of a business plan, of a plan that might take up Middle Neck Road, where you would rezone, work with the villages to rezone the areas to permit mixed use development?
I will definitely support that. And I think also by educating the public, a lot of times you see the public even against, they don't understand, they don't want buildings. But we're talking about 2023, the cost of living in Nassau County, very expensive. So people have to think, they have to come up and educate themselves and work with the villages, with the mayors, and find ways how we can adopt policies like this of supporting mixed units. So it's not going to be too hard. It's going to bring us more businesses downtown. I'm willing to support, absolutely.
Okay, there's been there was a proposal on taxes. I guess that's going to be voted on very shortly. The county budget, where the minority caucus asked for tax cuts. The county executive has proposed a budget that would keep taxes flat, but not cut taxes as he had promised he would do during his campaign. Do you think there should be tax cuts?
What we have to remember is in 2023, we didn't increase taxes. 2024, we are not going to increase taxes, well, property tax. And we will continue with the same the next couple of years. We have to be very realistic and understand.
What about the idea? Do you say keep it with flat, or do you think, as the Democrats requested, there'd be a tax cut?
We already, by frozen it is already a tax cut. Okay, by not under the previous administration, the idea was to increase tax. So the 2023 we didn't increase tax. 2024 we are not going to increase tax, and I believe in 2025 we're going to do the same things.
Okay, but the county executive had said during the campaign he was going to cut taxes, but he hasn't delivered on that yet.
By freezing the taxes, that is a big help right now for Nassau County residents.
Okay, assessments are another issue. The county, under County Executive Mangano, did not reassess for an 8-year period. During that time, the there was a tremendous disparity between similar homes, between those who challenged their assessment and those who didn't. Newsday did a survey, it was something like $2 billion. County Executive Curran did a reassessment, a countywide reassessment. They're finding large disparities, so large that she said she's going to phase in the changes, which meant there were a certain number of people, largely people who had challenged their taxes, that were underpaying their taxes. And there were people who didn't challenge their taxes who ended up overpaying their taxes. That went into effect for 2 years, and then County Executive Curran froze it for her remaining 2 years, so only 2 of the 5 years. The County Executive Blakeman called for an audit done by County Controller Phillips, released, I guess, most of it, but still County Executive Blakeman has frozen it for the next 2 years. And people in assessment will say, when you do that, the disparity grows. So right now we have an assessment system that is, there's great disparities on similar properties. Some people paying too much, paying higher, some people paying lower. What should be done about the assessment?
So yes, the assessment, as you said that it was done wrong, and so we saw some people were paying too much, some people too little. That's the reason we had the press conference where the county executive and the legislator told the controller to do the audit. From the audit, we can see that was done incorrectly. The assessment was done incorrectly. The home sale data was wrong. Everything was rushed. That's the reason why we're seeing the mistakes. Right now, I know county executive, the administration are reviewing the audits and trying to learn from it and come up with a better plan that would be fair for everyone.
Let me ask you this. If you come up with a plan, you come up with something and you get the assessment and you're comfortable that the assessments this time are correct. The last time most professionals said it was correct. Even though there was errors, most professionals said that the county's assessment was within the margin of error that's acceptable. Let's say you redo it, you have another assessment. Do you ask people based on that the following year to pay what they owe based on what you are confident is an accurate assessment? Or do you phase it in if the changes are so great, in which, in that scenario, some people will continue to pay less than what they should based on the assessment, and some will pay more?
This is our job right now in a county executive job, really to understand, to really fully understand what was done wrong, how we can make it better. That's the reason we cannot be rushed. We need to take our time, understanding it and do it correct. And by then, I believe next time is going to be done. I don't know when it's going to be done. It has to be done correctly. And then it's going to be.
Well, this is the question. I guess this is the question. There's two parts to this. There has been 2 years where there was one reassessment done that county executive and others say was incorrect, county controller. After 8 years where there was none, that we know that there's disparities because you have so many people grieving their taxes. Now we're going to be another 4 years where, again, there has been no reassessment. When do you think that the county ought to do it? It's not going to be next year because the county executive has already frozen it. So when would be reasonable? Because there's probably a lot of people, based on the statistics from the last time around, that are overpaying their taxes. And the county executive has said he doesn't want tax increases, but he attributes people who, the last time around, he said when they changed the assessment and other people faced higher assessment, that was a big tax increase. So there seems to be a mixed message of whether he's actually willing to do it, because he calls an adjustment that raises your taxes a tax increase. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, Steve, all I can tell you, I know the legislatures and the county executive administration are reviewing it, okay? I don't know when that's gonna be done, when we're gonna do the assessment again. All I know, they're taking it very serious and they don't wanna make mistakes again. So let's give them the time that's needed to do the right work. And when the time comes, I'm sure the public will know about this, when that's gonna be done.
I mean, would you expect that after next year, that there would be an assessment, that it would be unfrozen?
I can't answer this question right now, because as I said, we are reviewing it and the administration will announce when they think the right time to do so.
Okay, and you're comfortable with the time frame that they have done? That you're leaving it to them to come up with when they think it's appropriate. You're not concerned
We are learning.
People are overpaying their taxes.
We are learning the issues. Again, all we care right now, how to do it correct.
One other thing, there is no certified assessor in office. Should there not be somebody who is certified, who can actually help in that process so that it's done correctly?
There is somebody there right now, you know.
Not somebody who is a certified assessor.
Right now, we have somebody I know that she came in front of our the legislator meetings, that she knows what she's doing, and we'll see. But I know they're taking it very serious.
Okay. Migrants, the housing of migrants. We have New York City has received about 100,000 asylum seekers who are here legally under the asylum laws, US and international. You're allowed to come in and appear and apply for citizenship if you meet the criteria. Basically, people have come thousands of miles. The criteria is basically that they are being threatened economically, physically. They can't work for 6 months because a rule by Congress. So that's creating a problem. So New York City is housing 100,000 and 60,000 in city shelters. He has, and the governor has, asked for help from other people to allow them to, for basically to put up. The borough president of Queens County suggested that Nassau County house them in the Nassau Coliseum, putting up some number temporarily, as has been done at Creedmoor on the border of Nassau County. The county executive here and in Suffolk and in most places around the state has said no. Do you think that they should take in any of these migrants on the basis, on humanitarian grounds, that these people need they need to live somewhere?
As you know, this country was founded by, immigrants. I immigrated twice, okay? I understand the need to have migrants. But I think every country has a responsibility also to his own citizens. And when you decided to bring migrants, you have to have policy. Those people coming for better life and not just allowing uncontrolled migration. It should be something the country has to take this issue seriously, okay? Coming up with plan how we can help those people. Right now, the way the situation is, it doesn't help the American people, and it doesn't help the migrants as well. So I think this is a time for the federal and state to think better plan how we can help them.
Well, we know right now that Congress has not done it. It has failed to do that. But in the meantime, there's now a crisis. They're human beings. Do we put them out on the street? Is that better? Because they're in New York. They're in New York City, and I think Eric Adams has said that he's now going to make it 60 days in a shelter, and he's closing some of the hotels they were using. If there is an alternative where you could put them in Nassau Coliseum, some number of them, the way they're doing at Creedmoor, would you support that?
How you can bring people and put them in Nassau Coliseum? That's not right. That's not correct.
They're doing it in other places where they put beds. You create 10 cities. They are doing it in other places.
That's not the way you welcome immigrants. That's not the way you welcome immigrants. And I'm sorry, that plan, that's not the right plan. Not to the Americans, not to the migrants. So the federal government better come up with the ideas and ways and policies how you are willing to absorb those migrants and give them, the good life they was seeking. Right now, by opening borders and just doing the way you're doing it is the wrong way to do it. That's the reason why we have issues right now.
Okay, and they do have a right. People who are coming for asylum, people who are filing for asylum have a right under U.S. law. So they're going to come. International law says they can come. Congress is not doing its job. The question is, will, on humanitarian grounds, you got a choice. They're going to live on the streets, or they could live in temporary shelter at the moment.
Is go back to the government, the federal government, to come up with a better plan to help those people.
Okay. Question for you. You're running as Republican conservative. How do you get the conservative line? Do you run for that, and do you run for the Republican separate, or do you get both of them at once?
I was endorsed by both of them.
Okay. Did you seek that, or do you have to kind of go to them and say, will you endorse me?
The conservative line, they checking you, they seeing where you stand with their own belief. Based on that, they decided to endorse you or not, and they endorsed me because for what I stand for.
They support, basically they oppose gun regulation of any kind. They were part of the Conservative Party. One of its founding principles was kind of anti-gun safety regulation, anti-abortion, against immigrants coming in. Is that consistent with what your views are?
When we're talking abortion, when we're talking gun, we're talking about federal government, we're talking about...
Yeah, let's talk about, abortion rights.
This goes back to the states, and I'm running for re-election as a county legislator.
Okay, and so you're not involved in certain...
I'm not.
You don't see any role on your part?
No, I'm running for re-election as a county legislator, working to help small businesses, repaving projects, be the voice for the local government here.
Okay, let me ask you a question that I've announced that I would. Do you believe that Joe Biden won it in a free and fair election?
Say it again?
Did Joe Biden win in a free and fair election in 2020?
Yes, he won the election. Done. Then that's the end of the story.
Okay, would you vote for Donald Trump, even if he was convicted of one or more of the crimes that he's been charged with?
We have to wait for who. We don't know if Donald Trump will be the candidate for president. We have primary to come. We have to wait to see, and based on the primary, we'll see who are gonna support.
But if he's the overwhelming favorite right now, nobody is even close.
No, we have great people. We have great Tim Scott is wonderful. Kelly Harris, which is wonderful. Let's see what the primary is. That's the reason why the primary.
Let me say, okay, who would you prefer? Who would you like to see represented?
I as a Democrat, I cannot even be involved in primary. We have to wait for the people to make that decision, and based on that, we'll see. But
okay. But would you be in favor of any candidate, either party? Would you vote for them, and would you support them if they were convicted of felonies?
Why I will support them? I'm not going to support them. If they do something.
You're not going to support them if they were convicted felons?
Of course. I'm not going to.
All right. Well, 6 out of this, I think Tim Scott was among the 6 that actually said he would, even if he was asked by Fox in an interview if he would support him, even if he was convicted of one or more felonies, then he answered yes.
I'm saying no.
Okay. Sands Las Vegas has made a big splash. You voted for the project?
Casino?
Yes.
Yes, and it was passed by majority.
Right.
18 legislators out of 19 supported that.
Right. Do you think enough has been done in terms of dealing with, we were discussing with traffic, things like that. Are you comfortable with what has been done so that it addresses traffic issues, potential increases in crime, things like that? Are you confident that the county has addressed those issues?
Absolutely, yes. We had a couple of meetings. A Senate representative came to us. We asked all the questions, which kind of traffic study took place, how it's going to impact our county, it is going to cause more crime. And the proposal we received from them is something very good for Nassau County. It's going to help us to grow our economy. We're going to give a great opportunity for job opportunity for Nassau County residents. And overall, the plan we got was something that's good. And that the reason was supported by 18 legislators out of 19. And we have to see now if the governor will give it to Nassau County.
Okay. In terms of the, in terms of what you feel are your greatest accomplishments in your first term, you're relatively new, you've served one term. What do you think are your greatest accomplishments? Or what do you consider your one or two things that you have accomplished in your first term?
I think my biggest accomplishment is really as an elected official is by working with everyone. That's where I'm standing for, and everybody's seeing that. For me, it's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's all about the people. That the reason in the last year and a half, I was working with all the mayors and civic association, both Republicans and Democrats. By collaborating, understanding the needs of each village, is civic association. I was able to assist them. I think that's a really, really great accomplishment. That was my message from day one. It is all about giving good government for the people. I had a great, really year and a half where I worked with everyone, and I was able to deliver a lot of things, as I said. Speed readers for a couple of the villages, plate readers, working again with everyone in different ways. And that is my message. And I was able to work with everyone, bring everyone together, unities, working collaborating on the way. I think that's my message. And I'm very excited for the next term. And I have a big support from the public. And then most Ed, really being a voice for everyone. I mean, when I get a call from residents about some issue, I'm not just taking the call. I make sure to meet the people, sometimes to meet them in a specific issues where there is issues. I'm learning it. I'm going back to the county and reporting the issue. And I do a follow-up to make sure the problem is fixed and people seeing it.
Okay. In terms of another issue that is the question of opioids and fentanyl and safety. Where do you see that issue, and do you think what needs to be done? Is there anything more that needs to be done than the county is not doing?
Yeah, so opioid is a big issue. We're all aware of that. It's not just Nassau County issue, it's a national issue. As you know, we got a good amount of money from the drug companies. We're talking about 180 million. From that, for 2023, we allocate about 15 million to help the families who's dealing with addiction. And we appointed about 6 agencies who's willing to work with those families and help them out. And we have to make sure really the job is taking place and we're helping families. As I said, it's a national crisis. The county is doing everything is possible, to help those families. However, we also have to make sure the money, 180 million, is available right now. But that's not the only solution. We have to make sure the state criminal justice reforms has to make sense. Because if we are stopping drug dealers and 40 minutes after they are out and selling drugs to our kids, what's the point? That's a problem.
Could we be tougher on possession of drugs as well?
Say it again.
What about drug possession?
What do you mean?
Do you incarcerate people who are found to be in possession of drugs?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand
Do you arrest people and put them in jail, but those who are in possession, who have it and are using it?
We have to come up with policy that makes sense. And we have to fight the epidemic, this issue in more comprehensive ways.
Well, let me ask you this. They've only put out 15 million.
Yes.
Given the fact that most people agree that there's a crisis, shouldn't the county be spending more? Shouldn't they be looking for more beds and looking for more people to treat it?
Definitely. Listen, we just got this. I know not all the 15 million that was allocated wasn't used, and we are asking why, and we're trying to come up with a better plan how this money can be used and get to the people who need it the most.
Okay. Let me ask you, in terms of, you mentioned crime, there's been a lot of discussion about the rise in hate crimes. And I think you probably have, you're Jewish.
Yes.
And you're Black, so it's probably 2 of the groups that have been subject to this. What are you doing to counter this uptick, particularly since the start of Israel's war against Hamas?
Yeah, so hate is not welcome in Nassau County. It is clear, sending this message to everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, what your faiths, where you come from. In Nassau County, we make sure everybody feels very safe. When we realized there is issue about anti-Semitism, we came up with the task force, Nassau County Task Force Fighting Anti-Semitism. We did a lot of work. We trying to learn where we see the issues. We had a couple of meetings. We had a public hearing where we invited the public to come to share with us the experience. We had a couple of meetings with our commissioner, Patrick Ryder. We also hold a couple of hearings with school administration. And we're trying to really to give the floor for people. If you feel something like this, you have to make sure to report to us. And as we are reviewing what we did the last year and a half, we will come up with our recommendation how the county should handle it. This county is for everyone, Black, white, Jewish, non-Jewish, it doesn't matter. Everybody has the same right here, and we have to make sure everybody's feeling very good. And as you can see, even lately, with everything's happening in Israel, anti-Semitism on rise, it's very concerned for me. So many people, even students from my district, going to different colleges, feeling the anti-Semitism on rise, and unfortunately, colleges really failing to protect our students, allowing hate speech. After the attack on the Jewish people, on Israel, so many of my residents impacted directly by this attack. Now their kids feel uncomfortable in the colleges. And just 2 days ago, I was in the rally in front of Columbia, where one of the professors supported publicly the Hamas, which is a terrorist organization, and then allowing hate speech and really intimidating our students, the Jewish students, is just not fair. And the colleges should come up with a policy in condoning hate rallies and hate speech and attacking the Jewish kids.
So let me ask you a question. It was a recent ad by Jennifer on behalf of Jennifer DeSena, in which there's a photograph of John Kamen with both hands full of cash, and they talk about him raising taxes and corruption. This has been a meme done nationally by Republican candidates running against Jewish candidates. Are you concerned that somebody that you're running with is using advertising that that can be seen as anti-Semitic and plays into stereotypes about Jews that go back for centuries?
Absolutely. Jen DeSena, she's a big supporter of the Jewish people. I'm very proud to say she's my friend.
But there's this ad. I mean, what do you think of this ad where John Kamen has got his hand full of money? Isn't that playing into the stereotypes against Jews?
Absolutely. Now, Jen DeSena is talking about local issues, and she's running her campaign, nothing to do against the Jew candidate. She was the one who was with me almost every rally I went to support our Jewish residents. People can take it this way, but I promise you, she is with the Jewish students. She feels our pain. She came with me to synagogue right after attack, crying with me, feeling the pain of the Jewish people.
Okay. One other question before I get to your final question, which is your easiest one. And that is, what do you think of the practice of the cross-endorsement of judges by the Nassau County and Republican Party and the Democratic Party, where positions for judge that are supposed to be elected, basically both parties endorse a single individual. So effectively the race is decided before the election. Some people, Steve Ballone in Suffolk County, said it's anti-democratic. What's your thoughts about that practice?
Sometimes you have candidates that both parties like and can endorse one candidate. They do
it in every race, and this included Bruce Blakeman's wife and Joe Cairo's daughter. I don't know that it would, I would think it would be unlikely that that would be the first choice of Democrats. So, and it's done across the board in these races that the candidates are cross-endorsed.
I have a faith on the parties, on the people who's in charge of who to endorse. And when they're endorsing, I do have a faith that judging based on individual in front of them, based on the experience. And that's what I really believe. I don't believe it's because of Bruce Blackman's wife or because of daughter of Joe Cairo.
Okay. So final question. Here's your easiest. Why should voters vote for you?
Very clear. I am not a talker, really. I'm a person of action. I serve in the Israeli army. One of the things I learned really growing up in Israel and serving in the IDF, you are a person of action. You don't talk, you deliver. And I have been doing this in the last year and a half. I'm very proud of myself. As I said, it's all about the people. It's all about being the voice for the people and good government. And I am a doer, and people seeing it. I brought a lot in the last year and a half, and both my residents, my district, and the county is seeing it. When I say something, when I promise something, I will deliver. I will do everything to deliver. I communicating with everyone, and people feeling it. So.
All right. Well, I do appreciate that in this case, you did come to talk and you sat down with us. So I want to, I'd like to thank Northwell Health again. A recording of today's discussion will be found on theisland360.com, our website, our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. A story about today's interview will appear in the 6 blank slate, or at least 3 or 4 of them. I don't know if you cover all of them, but we'll see. In the 6 blank slate media newspapers. My thanks again to Mazi Pilip, who is running for re-election to the Nassau County Legislature in District 10 on the Republican conservative line, for taking her time and sitting down with us and sharing her views. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. It was nice talking to you. Thank you for having me in your program.